Hello. My name is Aaron Jesu, Aaron Jesu, Jesue, and I am from Taylor, Michigan, which is just southeast of Detroit, Michigan. How long have I watched wrestling? That's a very interesting question because I am 36 years old and I can proudly say that I have watched wrestling for 36 years. I might not remember everything that I've watched, especially when I was really little, but I do know stories from my dad of when I would grow up as a little baby, sitting on his lap, watching wrestling. He loved wrestling. He passed that passion on to me. I am now a very passionate professional wrestling fan, and there's even more stuff that you can't see above me. But I am a fanatic when it comes to wrestling. So when I was little, like I said, I used to sit on my dad's lap and watch wrestling. It was just an amazing show as I was growing up. It was larger than life characters, athleticism, just so many different things combined together into a product that you necessarily wouldn't get on TV from regular TV shows. You wouldn't see in typical movies and stuff. These characters became part of like your everyday life, wearing merchandise, getting toys, you name it. It's professional wrestling is just like the epitome of everything that you want to be but are too afraid to actually go out and do. Like if you're a bad guy, you might go and hit somebody with a chair, but in real life, if you're upset or having a bad day, hitting somebody with a chair is probably frowned upon. So you're going to have to think about that. So you go through the outlook of wrestling and you go and watch people do that, and you get your fill of happiness, triumph, defeat, everything. It's all wrapped up into wrestling. The sports entertainment, the wrestling, again, the athleticism, the characters, the connection that you make to all these characters and stuff it's not like anything you're gonna find anywhere else. Why do I love wrestling so much? It's probably a combination of all those things. So my dad having me watch wrestling with him when I was little, I really haven't stopped in 36 years, which some people might not be proud of, but I'm definitely proud of. I've loved wrestling since I was very, very little. I've collected toys, I've collected action figures, I've collected DVDs, I've met wrestlers at autograph signings, at Comic-Cons, at car shows. At Walmart, I met a wrestler, which was very unusual, but got an autograph at a Walmart in North Carolina. I went to an Air Force base or a military base in North Carolina and met another wrestler. I love wrestling. So t-shirts, I've got hundreds of t-shirts of wrestling that I've had over the years. Some that still fit, some that I proudly wear at wrestling events and stuff too. But what's really cool about why I love wrestling so much is that my dad passed it on to me, and I passed it on to my kids. I have a daughter, 10 years old. Her name's Chloe. She loves wrestling. Of course, she's very big into the women's wrestling, and women's wrestling is huge nowadays. So she doesn't know what it was like before, when women's wrestling was relegated to only a few minutes on a show, and it was very quick matches. There wasn't a whole lot of storyline other than this girl doesn't like this girl. But now she's grown up in the age where women's wrestling is at the forefront, or there's multiple matches on a given show. On a given pay-per-view, you might see a few different wrestling matches for women. So she only knows that, which is awesome, which is very powerful and very empowering for her, too. And then I have a son, Aiden. He just turned 7, and he's very, very passionate about wrestling. Him and I are guaranteed to be watching a little bit of Raw because he's got to go to bed before school. So he'll watch Raw with me. Chloe, hit or miss. SmackDown Friday nights, guarantee. Unless we're not home, we're on watching Friday night SmackDown. NXT on Wednesday night. We're starting to watch a little bit of AEW together. So we're getting that nice mix of wrestling and stuff. And the kids absolutely love it. And of course, my passion has been passed on to them. And they are all about the toys. They're all about the t-shirts. They've had a very spoiled life when it comes to wrestling, being able to go to Monday Night Raw, Friday Night SmackDown. We've gone to NXT shows. You name it, they've been able to do it. And when I was their age, I was not able to do some of the stuff that they've been able to do. Meet some of their idols, some of their stars that they're watching on TV. They've gotten firsthand connection with a lot of those people, which has been pretty amazing, and they absolutely love it. So, The Undertaker. Over the course of my entire life of watching wrestling, The Undertaker has been a staple almost from the beginning up until now. So it's been generations of fans have been able to watch The Undertaker's career back when he was just a mean guy in WCW, and then moving into WWF, now WWE, being able to see the progression of even just the character of The Undertaker, from this walking dead man with a purpose of burying his opponents and taking them to his dark side, and then watching him progress into this lengthy career of now in the legend status, the icon status. He's had it for a long time, but he has been able to progress over all of those years to this point to where his career will never be forgotten. It doesn't matter how old you are always going to hear about The Undertaker. It's going to be like how Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant, The Undertaker has surpassed all of them, and he is just a mainstay in wrestling. And it's really cool because even my kids know who The Undertaker is. They've seen him wrestle. And I can remember being that little kid watching The Undertaker and being absolutely terrified of him. But the kids see him now, and they know this guy's been around for a long time. Not necessarily in a bad way, but they know this guy means business when he comes out there. This is a very special thing that when you see him come onto your TV and you see the matches that he's in, these are special, special things. I think the career that he's had, the characters that he's had. I mean, I've got Funko Pops of The Undertaker, so these things aren't going anywhere. So you're going to remember seeing The Undertaker like this. I've got this with his action punch thing with the attached hat. He's ready to fight in any situation. These memories, this is from my childhood, so I've been able to, I played with this quite a bit. He's still functioning. He's still ready to fight any of the early 90s characters if he needs to, but he's on display up there. I was lucky enough to see Undertaker at WrestleMania 23 when he fought Batista in Detroit, Michigan. I've traveled to Atlanta to see him at WrestleMania. And another cool thing, this is one of my toys that I had when I was younger, probably in my teens, which I should be ashamed to say, but I had wrestling action figures in my teens, which also I have a coffin. How many kids had a coffin where you could play casket matches? So you can watch The Undertaker. He's not going to get buried. He doesn't go in the casket. He puts his opponents in the casket. Done. Rest in peace. Undertaker. But what's really cool about this is mine from when I was younger. This is my son's now. So The Undertaker has had action figures for 30 years. And now my son has this one that he's able to play with all of his characters that he has. Current day, legends, whatever. Undertaker can fight anybody he wants to over from now until eternity. So I think that's really cool, being able to share that connection of The Undertaker with my kids. You see the fans all across the world that know exactly who The Undertaker is, so it's cool to be able to have all of these things, t-shirts, whatever. He's legendary. He's an icon, so it's amazing to be able to have all this stuff and remember his career by it. My favorite moment from the career of The Undertaker, like I said, I went to WrestleMania 23 in Detroit. Pretty cool watching him win the championship then. Watching all the WrestleManias when he was undefeated for 20 some matches, and even when he lost the streak. I mean, that was devastating to myself and pretty much everybody else that was watching. But I think one of the coolest things that I got to experience with The Undertaker was in 1991, Joe Louis Arena, Detroit, Michigan. This was the very first live wrestling event that I went to in my life. 7 years old. My mom, my dad, and my sister, who's 3 years younger than me, so she was only 4. The four of us went to Survivor Series. And again, it was at the Joe Louis Arena in Detroit. I didn't know what to expect. I was a little kid. I've watched wrestling on TV with my dad forever. But this was my first time to actually see these characters that I've watched on my TV screen or on the VCR, that I've seen these guys in person. And that was a dream come true for a 7-year-old. I remember going to the arena. I remember very bits and pieces of the show. I remember getting to the arena, going to the merchandise stand. I got Bret Hart's glasses, which I still have. Got the Bret Hart glasses. I got the foam finger, the number 1. It says Hulk Hogan on it. Hulk Hogan's number 1. I don't know what happened to that. I'm pretty sure I brought it in for show and tell, and it was either stolen or misplaced, or my mom threw it away because she didn't think it meant anything. After that night, Survivor Series, you might understand why it disappeared. So that match, it was Hulk Hogan, Hulkamania still running wild, but this is the first time Hulk Hogan and the Undertaker really collided in the ring, and it was for the WWF, now WWE Championship. I remember Hulk Hogan comes out. You know, I'm all about Hulk Hogan. When the Undertaker's music hit, I remember getting this awful feeling in my body. It was terrifying hearing the music. It was scary watching him walk down the ring. Of course, he came with Paul Bearer, his manager, carrying the urn, talking really crazy, and, "Ooh, yes, Undertaker!" Terrifying. Walking to the ring, you got this lightning and the darkness and this dead guy walking to the ring, and you know he's trying to end Hulkamania. I cried. I cried when he came out. I was terrified. I thought my parents were going to have to take me out of there because I couldn't keep my eyes open. I was tucked into my dad. I thought this was a villain, a horrible monster coming to the ring, trying to destroy Hulk Hogan. Didn't go good the rest of the match because, sure, there were some shenanigans that happened. I had to go back and rewatch it to remember everything that happened because, again, I was a terrified kid and that match was the worst for me. Fast forward to the end of the match. 1, 2, 3. Undertaker wins his first championship. My parents had to carry me out of there. I couldn't handle it. It was the worst. It was not great at all for me. And what's crazy to think that me as a 7-year-old kid watching Hulkamania be destroyed by this zombie monster guy, watching that and thinking how terrified that I probably never want to watch wrestling again because this guy just destroyed one of my favorite wrestlers, to thinking now, fast forwarding to now, and seeing that the Undertaker has been a mainstay over these 36 years. It's amazing. It's outstanding. It's crazy thinking that he's been able to last this long. But it's awesome because he's awesome, and he's been just able to change with the times. He's been able to change up his image so that he's got a fresh look on different things. He's been able to kick butt the entire time. It's been awesome being able to know that I've been able to grow up from the beginning of his career, and now watching him finish up, it's been amazing to be able to know that I was born during this time, that this legend has been able to be on my screen. So one of the craziest or biggest wrestling memories that I have comes from a little luck that I had. A few years ago, I met current WWE superstar Kevin Owens. I met him at a indie show, an indie wrestling show, a local indie wrestling show. The two of us bonded over our love of wrestling and zoos. So when I was a kid, when I grew up, I watched wrestling and I watched King Kong. Now that I've grown up, I watch wrestling and I work with gorillas. So it's a nice mix for me. Kevin Owens is also known as a zoo enthusiast. So we were able to bond over the fact that we both love wrestling, we both love zoos, and we keep in contact. So anytime he comes into town, we make sure to try to get together or at least connect. And then I've been able to bring my family to wrestling shows because of him. So what's really cool is my kids, they've been to Monday Night Raw, they've been to SmackDown, they've been to NXT shows, they've been able to experience things that when I was little, I didn't get to sit front row. I didn't get to slap hands with my favorite wrestlers. I got to sit up in the nosebleeds and pretend that I could actually see those guys unless I was watching on the screen in the arena. my kids have been able to get autographs from NXT superstars because they're able to go up to them. They're able to say hi to them. They've gotten T-shirts. Their lives are blessed, and it's because of Kevin. And Kevin's gotten to wrestle the Undertaker. He's gotten to team whatever. He's been able to have those experiences. But one of the coolest experiences is that he got us tickets to Hell in a Cell, which was 3 years ago in Detroit. And I got this chair to commemorate that. Hell in a Cell, and there's Kevin and Shane McMahon. So a full circle moment for me. Again, my dad took us to Survivor Series in Detroit in 1991. Fast forward to 2017. Kevin Owens gives us tickets to Hell in a Cell. We get to sit ringside. It was myself, my wife, my sister, my brother-in-law, and my dad. So my dad takes me to Survivor Series when I was 7 years old, and then I was able to take my dad to Hell in a Cell in Detroit, not at Joe Louis, because Joe Louis was torn down, but at Little Caesars Arena. So I was able to repay my dad for what he did as a kid, and that crazy Undertaker experience and moment of crying almost the entire main event, to now being able to see Hell in a Cell. It's something that I didn't make that connection until right now, and I know how special it was for me, and I know it's special for my dad, seeing that we're still watching wrestling, kids are watching wrestling, we're able to bond over wrestling again. It's just a really cool experience. Wrestling is something that some people look down on. Obviously, I've been a fanatic of it for over 30 years. Almost 40 years, which is scary, but also really cool to be able to watch the business grow. I think it's really cool, those full circle moments. Hopefully in the future, my grandkids will be able to watch wrestling. I'll be able to take them to wrestling shows. My kids will continue watching wrestling. I know both of them have, they grow up saying, I want to be a rock star, I want to be a teacher, I want to be a zookeeper, I want to be a wrestler. If one of them becomes a wrestler, my daughter could become the next legend in the women's division, or my son, as crazy as he is and as much as he loves wrestling, who knows, maybe he can have a career like the Undertaker. We can only hope that it would be as cool and as long and as career defining as what the Undertaker's been able to do. And if that's something that happens, how awesome would that be? So thank you, Undertaker. Thank you for everything that you've done. You've treated the kid in me for 36 years, and this is something that I'm honored to be able to hopefully participate in and share some of my stories and stuff with you. So thank you for everything that you've done for my life and my career and my love of wrestling, and just keeping me entertained all these years. Thanks.